Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the new year. It is January 1st, 2025, and uh, I'm excited to be here. Had a great night with the family last night. Real quick, a little recap of our New Year's and Christmas. It was good. We had a good Christmas. Got everybody together. Stayed up late last night. Watched the ball drop, and then today we're trying out some new software. So I've been using YardStream for over the last year to do these live streams, and right now I have no idea if my chats are going to work or if it's even streaming on YouTube or the Telegram group. I guess that's something you can do here. And it says live on YouTube. So hopefully this is working. The reason why I'm switching over to live stream or OneStream, rather, as you can see up in the corner, before I purchase their software, I'm looking to give it a try. And just YardStream increased their prices. I like the platform, but I don't think there's enough bang for the buck for me personally, being such a small channel. I need something that's a little more cost efficient. So that being said, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the PMA revolution, should I say, and how to build a freedom-based community in 2025. And I think this is really important because we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years the associations, and great, I have some type of electronic device on that's going to be dinging, whatever it is, what it is. That we've seen a growth in people starting associations for various reasons. So I want to kind of go into some of that stuff and why it's important in 2025. But first, I want to hear from one of the I guess we can call them a sponsor. They're working with us, and that's Start9, and that's their embassy servers. I have one, I run it, I love it. So let's hear from them real quick, and then we'll jump right into today's video.
We all save our data, but where is it saved? In the cloud, which is actually this building in one of these computers with millions of others. This is called a honeypot, a single place full of data worth a hacker's time to steal. But instead, if you saved your data on your own computer at home, you wouldn't be worth the attack. Saving your own data is easy. Simply plug in a Start9 device and start saving all your own data today. So, will you stay in the honeypot, or will you take control of your data? Start now. Start9.
All right. And because I can't do any tickers or anything like that, because I haven't bought the full software, if you want to, you can go over to eastcoastpma.com. I still haven't rebranded it yet to reflect the YouTube channel. We're getting there. It's slowly but surely. It's only been about a year, I think, now. But you can go over there. You can find links to Start9. If you use, I think it's the code Rebel Alliance, that might be the code. Shoot, I should have checked this out because I don't remember. And usually I have a ticker to put that up there. See, the issue with switching platforms is sometimes you forget things. But anyways, there's a link over there. You can also, if you're interested in joining Liberty Dollar, they are an association that deals with silver and operates kind of like a bank, for lack of better description. So they're still doing good stuff over there. So feel free to check them out. Also, it's a great place if you want to buy silver and just have some rounds, or send it electronically or digitally and that sort of thing. So, all right, let's get into it. It's the new year. We're kicking things off right. We're going to be talking about freedom-based communities, setting them up in an association. We have one here in Connecticut. I know other groups in Connecticut that may not have the formalized documents, but they do operate as a private association or unincorporated association. So, we've had a lot of crazy stuff go on over the last few years, everything from the pandemic to drones recently. And I think a lot of people are just to the point now where they're like, I need to build a community. I need to get together with other like minded individuals, whether it's a parallel economy that we're doing, gardening, homesteading, all that type of stuff. And that all can be done in association. I've had some really great conversations over this past week, right before Christmas, of people that are looking to set these things up and getting them started. Now, I don't know if we have anybody online watching because I'm not quite sure where that would show up here. But let me see. Oh, I have to connect chat. All right. So the chat should be connected. So if you're live, hopefully I'll see it. And it doesn't tell me how many people are watching, if anybody. So regardless, if you have questions or comments, please leave them down below or chime in now. It'd be great to hear from you and let me know where you're watching from. So With 2025 just getting started, it's the first day into the new year. I think a lot of people are excited about what's to come, about their future, about setting goals and changing their path in life, all that type of stuff that goes along with the new year. And I think having an association set up kind of allows you to drive that um, in that direction. So I think one of the biggest things that I like about the associations is one, you don't have to worry about registering them with the state or with the local government or with that new financial bureau or whatever it is set up that they want to make sure you're not, laundering money as an LLC, which is a real pain, even though your state secretary knows that you have an LLC. So, one, there's a lot less red tape. Two, there's a lot less government interference as far as setting up your business. You can set it up how you want, or your association, I shouldn't say business, but your group, right? And when it comes to building community groups, you can do everything from think about, educational classes, prepping, homesteading. Like we're going to be doing one with our group with doing mushrooms in a log. Again, we did that a few years back. Another member said, "Hey, we should do that again." So we're going to start getting the dead wood together. We're going to start getting the mushroom spores and growing shiitakes and all those type of mushrooms. So it allows you to really um, become independent and freedom focused without a lot of government overreach or telling you how to run your organization, because as we've seen in court cases, that your members are protected within your association. Now, don't confuse this with a lot of the information that's out there where people tell you you can do whatever you want in your association, you're in a completely different jurisdiction. That's not the case, and we've talked about that before. And if you guys think that's something we should dive into again, just leave me a comment down below and let me know, and I'd be more than happy to dive into that. But as we go forward, we really need to make sure that we have our local communities set up where we can depend on one another. Because as you've heard probably in other spots and other podcasts and other videos, that the government's not going to come to save you, right? You got to be self-reliant, take care of yourself. And I really wish I knew what device was going off. I think it's my tablet. But anyways, one of the things that I like about the associations, or PMAs as they're called online, I try to get away from that word and just call them unincorporated associations, is the fostering of self government or governed communities where you have your president, your vice president, your treasurer, your secretary, you have your members that come in, you guys govern yourselves and you don't have to rely on anybody else telling you what to do. And like I said, I have a few groups here in Connecticut that, some are formed as associations and some are just groups that get together, but they have no formal formalization, I guess, if that makes sense. So I think it's really important that these things start to become more prevalent in your areas. And again, then you have the autonomy, which is nice, and the empowerment of your members making decisions on the direction that the association goes in and that sort of thing. So if you do have something like, let's say, when we were at the Rogue Food Conference, um, the raw milk was a big deal, or real milk, whatever you want to call it. And here in Connecticut, you can buy it from certain vendors, but in other states you can't. So what I tell everybody is if raw milk is illegal in your area, you really want to keep it between you, your members, and a fence post. Now, if you're doing it at a larger group where it's not an intimate association, you're more of an expressive association, think of like Amos Miller, where you're a lot larger, well, then you want to start looking at creative ways to get around some of the red tape as far as being able to sell that stuff. So one popular way is doing a herd share or even labeling it for animal consumption only, even though the people buying it know exactly what they're going to be doing with it. So that being said, one of the questions I get is steps to building a freedom-based community, or if I want to have an association that's about living free, bringing in members, learning how to hunt and fish and garden and self-preparedness and all that type of stuff. What are the steps? So I'm going to look down here because I've outlined 6 steps, and this is going to be loosely based on the blog post I just put up on East Coast PMA. So feel free to check it out there. And I really wish I knew if people were watching. I just don't have, and I should have put my patch on because my eyes drive me crazy. I can't see here. Live slide. I don't want slides. Sorry, I'm just looking at the, this has a teleprompter built in. Oh, well, yeah, that's good to know. So, anyways, let's move on for those of you who are either watching live or watching the replay of this. So, the first step is you want to define your purpose and your mission. You want to start by figuring out what your core values are, your goals of your community, have a clear mission statement, and what efforts you're going to use to bring in like-minded individuals. All right. And like I said, this article's blog post is on eastcoastpma.com if you want to check it out. So that's the first thing. So again, the part of an association is having like-minded people to come together for a common goal. Now, whether that goal is preparedness, homesteading, learning life skills, being more maybe it's religious based and you want to be more enlightened and you want to have a group that maybe gets together outside of your church or a group that does good within your community, that sort of thing. That's all defined in your purpose and your mission. So that's very important, the first step. Without that, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants, really not knowing the whole purpose of why you're getting together. Number 2 is kind of where I come in, and that's where you wanna do your research. Online, I put legal research, so you wanna look into, your local law library. You wanna look into the constitutional law desk book. You want to look at maybe Google Scholar. If you have access to Westlaw, you can bring stuff up there. So a lot of the stuff that I find, I put on East Coast PMA, or if people email me with using my contact information, I'll send out some of those resources also. But you want to understand how your association is going to be looked at in your state. Not all the states look at them the same. Now, at the highest level, let's say when we look at jurisprudence, yes, they're all kind of looked at the same, but each state looks at them a little bit individually different. Some states see them as a separate entity from their members, other states do not. Some states have adopted the Unincorporated Nonprofit Association Act, which, if you have a nonprofit association, it governs how that should be run and looked at. So you want to make sure that you do your time. You schedule a conversation or a consultation with myself, have a conversation. I do 30 or 60 minutes, and then we can always do follow ups. If you happen to jump on our call this Thursday with the PMA manifesto, I believe it's going to be at 8 p.m. East Coast time. So if you're not a member of that group, you can go over to the PMAmanifesto.com, sign up there, or you can go to the Facebook group. I'll also post the link in the Telegram group for Freedom Frequency and the Facebook group. So you can jump on there and ask your questions and really have an understanding of how it works in your area. Now, the more in-depth questions are going to require some type of consultation where we get on a Zoom call or telephone call and go over everything. Then once you have that done, excuse me, and you understand how it's going to be looked at in your area, whether it's going to be looked at as a partnership and that sort of thing for tax purposes, depending on how you're setting it up. You want to draft your member agreements and bylaws. So the three main documents you're going to have when you're building your freedom-based community is you're going to have your membership agreement, your bylaws, and your articles of organization. Now, I'm going to say this up front. I like AI. I like Chat GPT. I use it for a lot of things to help shorten my time frame when putting work stuff together. However, if you are using it to create your own bylaws and your articles of organization, if you don't know the ins and outs and, let's say, the nitty gritty of an association and what should be in those bylaws, articles of organization, and membership agreement, you could possibly get stuff that's not going to be beneficial to you. It might look good, but it might not be what you need. And that's why we suggest either using the DIY templates that have all of the color coded sections in it, depending on what type of association you're setting up, and examples where we know these are going to work for you, because whether they've been tried in cases, or like here in Connecticut, we've had a few that have been challenged by the Office of Early Childhood and have stood up. You want to make sure what you're getting is done properly, just like those attorneys who use ChatGPT to write their brief and it cited court cases that didn't exist. So I believe that's how the story goes. So just be careful. I think AI has its place. I think it's good to bounce ideas off of, or to kind of, you know, get you pointed in the right direction. But if you don't know what you're actually writing, well, then it can be a problem. So you want to make sure you schedule a consultation, or get the DIY templates, or hire myself to write them, or the ladies over at the PMA Manifesto. Now, you can go to other groups that charge up to $10,000, and some that charge as little as $250, and some that charge pretty close to what we charge, but all they're doing is swapping out one name and putting yours in because they got their documents from us or somebody else, and they didn't actually create their own. Like, there's certain things in ours that you won't see in other documents out there, and that are very important. So just keep that in mind. Now, step number 4, because I don't know how long I'm gonna have on this OneStream. I don't know if it's only like 20 or 30 minutes, so I'm gonna try to go through this pretty quickly, but so far I like the platform. Also, let me know if you like the quality of the video. I think this is only streaming at 720 until I get the paid version for 1080, but, let me know what you guys think of this so far. Um, I don't even know if this is while we're doing this, I gotta pull up Telegram on my phone real quick, and I wanna see if this is actually streaming on Telegram because it's supposed to be. So, let's see what is going on. Alright, it's not streaming on Telegram. That stinks. I thought it was, so God only knows where it's streaming. Huh, interesting. All right. Well, we'll have to look into that. So, anyway, it's supposed to be streaming on Telegram too, but we'll figure that out for the next go around. So, as I was saying, the next thing, step number 4, 3 being drafting your membership agreement and your bylaws, articles of organization. I guess in that aspect, when we go back up to number 1, yeah, well, we'll stick in with number 3 is you also want to know who you're going to be running this with. So, who your president, vice president, treasurer, secretary are going to be. Those are the 4 main parts that I'd like to fill. If we need to, you can cover 2 parts. I don't really necessarily like to do that as much. Now, number 4 is recruit aligned members. So you have to build a network of individuals who share your vision, who um, are drawn to your mission statement, who are looking at your core values of why you're starting this association. And that's going to be very important because you don't want people to come in that are going to be toxic to your environment. And you want to make sure that whoever you're bringing in, you're vetting. And the way we did it with Liberty House is we first had our core group of members that started, and then individually we started inviting other people, and then it was between word of mouth. And then as the association grew, it then also shrunk as things got, we'll call it quote unquote, a little bit more normal, and people had to get back to their lives, and things weren't as hectic, and you didn't feel like you were an outcast because you didn't care for certain vaccinations or you didn't believe in certain things, and so forth. Oh, great. Thanks, man. It looks good. So let me see if this goes. Can I put this up on the screen? Uh, no, maybe not. Anyways, I thought I could put that up there, Jonathan. Thanks, man. Glad it looks good. Okay, cool. Good to have that feedback. So, that being said, you want to make sure that you don't have anybody that. So, anyways, that's how we. Let me get back to the Liberty House here. That's how we started bringing in our members, and then we would do a vetting process. I know other organizations might have a petition process where the person fills out an application, says, "Yeah, I'm interested in joining." Great. Then maybe they send out a couple members. Maybe it's 2 members that come out and say, "Hey, why do you want to join? Who do you know in the group? How'd you hear of us? What's your background?" That sort of thing, because you want to make sure everybody jives with what's going on within that association. And then let's see, you want to, and this is one thing that you'll see in our documents that you won't see in anything else, is the establishment of conflict resolution. And you want to have a clear framework for decision making and resolving disputes within your community, because our whole goal is to stay out of the system, right? We want to live that freer life. We don't want to be told what to do. And the last thing we want to do is end up in court trying to remove somebody. Now, if you do, the court's going to rely on your bylaws and articles of organization. That's why it's important to have those documents really well written. But something I include in the documents that I write, and I believe they are, yeah, they're in the DIY templates, is alternative dispute resolution. And it kind of lays out, if there's any disputes that arise, how they're supposed to be handled. And the reason, one of the things I'm starting in February this year is a mediation and consulting business, full blown mediation and consulting business. That's going to be my primary job. And a lot of the consulting side comes from associations. So that's going to be part of it. But I can also now operate virtually with other associations that might have a dispute where I don't know really anybody in there. So there's no conflict of interest. I might have set up the documents a year ago, but outside of that, there's no agreement that I'm there to help. So I can come in as a mediator and mediate any type of issues. Again, keeping everybody out of the court system, which is the main goal here, correct? As I knock on stuff, I still got to work on this whole new setup. As you can see, it's a new setup here in the office. I'm trying to rearrange things, and Alyssa told me this would probably be the best setup because before it was kind of janky the way it was done. But anyways, so you want to make sure you have good governance and a good conflict resolution protocols on how everything's going to happen. The last thing is going to be foster engagement and education. I can talk this afternoon. It's been a long day. But with that in mind, fostering engagement and education, you want to keep members involved, informed through regular meetings. So whether you're meeting monthly, like I know there's some groups here that meet monthly, some might meet twice a month, some might meet every other month. One thing I'm trying to establish with Liberty House, hopefully this year, is getting more of a regular basis for gatherings, and then doing workshops and updates and keeping just members involved. That's the biggest thing. I find that to be the hardest thing is fostering that engagement, doing classes, education, and that community involvement to getting everybody involved so that community thrives. And Connecticut's not a big state. I'm recording this here from the Pine Ridge homestead, and we're not on that big of a piece of land. We have members that aren't that far away, but for some reason, community engagement, getting people together for classes, potlucks, whatever it is, seems to be the hardest aspect of everything. Out of everything you're going to do with your association, that seems to be the hardest. And then when you do set up, getting people or setting up events or stuff like that is getting people to actually show up to them. So just keep that in mind. Number 6 is going to be the hardest thing you're going to struggle with while having your association in 2025. Now, um, I'll talk about some real life success stories and then some of the challenges, and then hopefully we don't run out of time here. So I'm going to try to keep this short. So some success stories here. I think Liberty House is a success story for myself with the group we started here in Connecticut. There's some other groups that meet that, like I said, that aren't 100% formulated as an association, but they meet just like an association. They have their own unwritten rules, so to speak. Then we have a lot of ministries that we've set up here in Connecticut that have won against the Office of Early Childhood and the state's attorney who's tried to shut them down because we know that there are certain rules and regulations and laws that we can use to our advantage. And so if we can use those to stay out of the court system, because I don't think anybody has pockets as deep as the state, then we should use those to our advantage. And we've been able to do that and show the state that we're not set up just for education, but we are set up as a ministerial organization. So we've gotten, I think, like 5 or 6 now, which has been huge across the state because in Connecticut, we've lost our religious exemption for vaccinations in schools. So that's another one. There's the ladies over at the PMA manifesto. That's been a good association. That's brought a lot of awareness and education to people, along with myself helping out as far as what associations are or PMAs are, as they're called online. And there's others that I've helped set up everything from butcheries to co-ops to agricultural farm type stuff. So, and everything in between. And it allows those local communities to thrive because now they're keeping their money local. They know who they're operating with, they know who their neighbors are, they know who they can rely on. So it's really important to have these things set up. Now, some of the challenges you're going to come up with is, like I said, especially the challenges you're going to see is education is the biggest one. And depending on where you are, sometimes the ag side of things, but you'll have legal hurdles that you're going to eventually be challenged with. And if you listen to anybody that says you're not within their jurisdiction and you don't have to answer a cease and desist or anything like that, you find somebody else to talk to. They're completely wrong. And if you ever want to have that conversation, feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you time and time again when that's happened, everything from here in Connecticut all the way out to Hawaii. And I think there was even a couple in Australia that I talked to. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that you can get advice from that's competent and sane advice and not, hey, you're a whatever. You don't have to answer anything that is given to you or sent to you in the mail from the legal system. Another one, like I said, is member disputes. That's going to be one that comes and goes, and establishing clear bylaws and a mediation process to address the conflicts is going to be huge. Because, like I said, we want to stay out of court. That's the whole purpose of this. We want to have our parallel economies. We want to be more free. We want to be able to take care of ourselves and not rely on anybody else. And the big one when it comes to things, and this is something that we saw in Liberty House, was funding for different, I don't want to say issues, but different topics. So like one of our early onsets when we had a lot of members coming through is like, hey, we need to raise money. We need to buy a piece of land. We need to have a community garden, maybe have a yurt on it where people can stay, or camping sites and all this stuff. So we were looking at different pieces of land, and we were kind of putting the cart before horse because we really weren't collecting members' dues so much. We were collecting like a fee to join, and that was kind of help funding some things. We did do some events to kind of bring in some money, but again, the funding issue is going to be a thing. And I think one of our members that made a point is that, hey, every month you need to contribute $25 or $50 for a family, $25 per individual, something like that, where the money goes into a coffer. And then when it gets to a certain point, then the members decide on how that money is going to be spent, whether it's preparedness equipment, maybe long-term food storage. Maybe you buy a Harvest Right dehydrator that gets used with the community. So that's going to be a difficult one, is the funding issues when you're going to want to fund stuff. Now, what I see for the future, uh, with everything that's happened over the last 4 to 5 years, and now the chicken flu, or I don't want to say the actual name of it, we'll just call it the chicken flu, is going around supposedly, and people are getting it through cheese and all this other stuff. I kind of feel like they're kind of spinning up the whole COVID's thing again, and hopefully this doesn't get banned on YouTube. It probably will, those two things I just said. But I don't know. I feel like there's something maybe coming again down the pike. Like they have to kind of keep us in a constant state of fear for whatever reason. And I think having these associations and getting together with people that you know um, want to uh, reshape how they live and work, want to empower individuals and their communities, uh, that look for a greater freedom and self-determination and self-autonomy. I think that's really where we're going to go in 2025 with these associations. I'm looking to hopefully get more people set up with these. Again, they're not the cure-all. They're not going to fix everything, but I think it's a good first place to start when you're talking about freedom communities and building a community where you can rely on each other. So that's kind of where I see things going. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff happen over the next year. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as it was a few years ago, when everybody was jumping on the PMA bandwagon and everybody was like, "Hey, we got to do this, we got to do that." And people selling affidavits that were worthless online. Just a word of advice: don't fall into the fear mongering where they try to, create all this fear for you to buy a product of some sort. And that's why I like to offer the consultations. Yes, I do charge for them because it does take time away from the family. But again, I want to make sure you have the best information going forward. And there are times where I turn people away from an association. So that's really not what it's set up for. It's really not going to help you. You need, if I were you, I would go in this direction. So just keep that in mind. And I think this is something that we can really um, transform our local, hyper local communities with getting together with like-minded members. So, the first steps to take, I would say, is just reach out to me, leave a comment, shoot me an email, set up a time on East Coast PMA to be able to have a consultation with me, see if they're the right fit. And the goal going forward is at least doing podcasts 3 times a week. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing because of the mediation consulting business. I'm going to have to try to, once that's up and running in February, kind of see where everything falls in. But I do like this OneStream. So hopefully we'll just keep using this. The price point's a lot better. Seems to have some good features in it so far. It's too bad because I did like Yardstream, but see, I'm just messing with some stuff here. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you found this information useful in going forward in 2025. If you decide to build a freedom-based community and really support each other within your areas, wherever you live. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.